Hey guys, Sam from Overland Rough Racks, and welcome to another episode of What Are They Up To Now. Today we're going to be doing an R1T Rivian installation of our bed rack system today. It's going to be a fun project. This thing has taken on a life of its own. We've had to make some provisions to have things work on the truck, how we attach to it. We'll be talking about connection points today with this cool bracket. Check that out. It's gonna be fun. Doesn't look like much now, but wait till we take it apart. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We made provisions on our antlers so we can move things around so it stays level and you can access things, take the rack on and off. So this will be a good episode, guys. So stay tuned. We're gonna walk through the complete installation of the bed rack system on the Rivian truck. Thanks, guys. Okay, guys. Now that I put on the base here, again, blue Loctite, not a lot. And basically put the butterfly clips in there, drop them in on both positions here. You then slide the base over it. We have holes that accommodate it. And underneath this, on the factory connection points, they have it's kind of bored out here. And just to show you what it looks like underneath, it's kind of cool. There's a lot of thought that went into this piece here. It's not just a bracket, and we thought of everything. There's a counter bore underneath here that meets there's a pin that goes across, so that it accommodates that on the back side. Got some branding on there, and again the butterfly clip. There's so many angles on this thing to get this thing to work right. I mean, it's a work of art. It's pretty cool how it's been done. So that makes this now totally secure, because when you tighten it, it clicks up, it locks up against each other, and there's nowhere for it to go. And now you have a foundation here that's super strong here for the base of your rack. So I'm gonna put the other side on, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay guys, I'm gonna put the last bolts in here on this other side, and we'll get this thing started, and just like that. So, you know, one other thing we talked about, having some consistency issues with and tolerances of what we're going into. We've had to have the happy medium. So I put these two in just now, and this one was really tight. Not tight in terms of fit in there perfect, but because the cast might be off on the actual piece that's on the truck, this was not quite lined up a little bit. So I had to loosen this up here, come over here, slide this over a little bit, and now everything, it kind of, three things have to marry themselves here to get correct here. So it worked out. And again, that's just a testament of what we had to do. The bracket, or that clipping mechanism, not just a clip, that was just, we put something together and it worked, It had to work with tolerances based upon the unknown, so to speak. So we got these down here snug. We're gonna get our wrench. There we go. And we're gonna tighten these down. Again, I'll come back and torque these. And again, it's about 20 to 25 pounds of torque based upon the bolt itself. And now I'm using Loctite. So I'd like to get a nice good snug on there as I'm doing it, because it's got nowhere else to go, and I feel it kind of click together, locked in place. Like I said, I'll come back and I'll do some torquing just to make sure. There you go. And this last one, and again, we talked about the tolerance, and the tolerance that we're dealt with, again, is an unknown. So we had to factor that in. But so far, we've had every one of them fit. Looks like we hit the mark. We probably made almost 100, 110 prototypes of this clip, different variations, different angles. If you look at the bottom of this clip, it looks like the Stealth Fighter with all the compound angles that we had to get. There's a 5-axis machine. They take about 30 minutes a piece to make. They're not cheap, but they certainly work. And again, no bolting. And some of the provisions we've made, why we did it this way, is that if you had to take the truck in for service and you wanted to take all this off, you unbolt here, and you can access even with the rack is on, you can access this here. We made provisions on this antler here to make this is thin, this is thicker. We brought it out. So you can get an Allen wrench in there, unscrew this and unscrew this, and you can physically lift the whole rack off, come back and drop it back in place without taking it apart, bolt it back in place, and be on your way. So that's the base installation, and now we'll go into the Antler installation next. Okay guys, now we're gonna move on to what we call our antlers, the installation of that portion of it. We get the name antlers because it just looked like an antler kind of thing. So we were talking one day to my engineer, and I said, the uprights that look like antlers, and so it stuck. So now we call that our antler. So what you have here, a couple things I'm going to point out here. Brand new logos, silk screen, aluminum plated, powder coated, pop riveted on there with black pop rivets. So looks really clean. We changed these slots to a smaller slot to accept a 1/4 20 versus a 3/8 like on the top. Connected tents, bigger bolts. grab handles, smaller bolts, looks cleaner. And on the front, because we don't want noise, potential noise, we've got a flat surface here, so when the wind hits it, it kind of rolls over. That's the front antler, slides over here like that. Then we have our middle, lock and plate here, holes on both sides. If you notice, there's 2 sets of holes, and if we want inner molly panels, the inner molly panel is attached to that. If you notice on this, it has both sides, it has holes on both sides. When you slide this over, because there's holes on both sides, it now connects our molly panels, okay? So the last portion of this is, now this is for the end. We made this plate larger. We scooted up this plate here because we wanted to move it forward to have access to go over the plate, the mounting plate. Also, when you slide this over, it goes over that, it doesn't hit, and I'll do a little bit of B-roll so you can see what that is. But more importantly, I can take an Allen wrench and I can access that bolt right here, right now. I can unbolt it there, unbolt it here, here and here, and if you take the truck in for service, you can literally pull the whole rack off with taking 8 bolts off. So that's kind of a key feature for us. Again, that's a cutout. We provisioned for that. We have our positions here for our lights and of course our grab handles. So I'm going to do the other side and then we'll move to the next step. Thanks. All right, guys, we're going to move on to the section where we're going to be putting on the cross members. So I'm going to take this off here. Very simple. Take off. This got back from powder coating. Put that aside. You'll know this is the front by having this mouse hole here. And when you put these, slide these over here into position, like this, everything's all loose now, guys. It'll line up once we start putting the nuts and bolts in. But that mouse hole is if you have a roof rack, you run your roof rack wiring through the mouse hole, down through here, zip tie it up to here, down through. That way you don't see any wiring. So that's the front cross member. We have the middle. Drop that on there. And then we have our spine that goes in there. And this came back from powder coating, nice and protected. Slides over here. And we have our third piece here, which will be our spine. And you have to put this on first. And there's that. And then the spine goes over, and you can see the rack actually starting to take shape here now, and that's really the fundamental foundation of the rack. Okay, guys, now that we went all the way around the vehicle, we put our molly panels in here, we secured our antlers here, they're in place, so we have a solid foundation to work from. Now that we secured the molly panels here, we're going to go back now, put the additional bolts in there, get them sized up here, lock them down, and just make a roundabout of all the nuts and bolts that complete the rack. So that should take about 15 minutes. And overall, if you don't know what you're doing, maybe an hour, hour and a half. If you do, 45 minutes. So we've got it down to a science here. So we're gonna probably get a couple of us on putting nuts and bolts, get this thing wrapped up, and then we'll finish up. Take one. Okay, guys, now that we're done putting the rack together, it was a pretty fun experience. So for us, it takes about an hour, hour and a half, get all the nuts and bolts here tied in. Clips into position. Rack is super strong now. You shake the entire vehicle, doesn't move. We do a test to make sure everything's tight. And again, we substituted strength with angles and put the heavy metal where you need to put it. We have access holes here for the trunk here. We've cleared this here so you can still use the tonneau cover, and you can open up the back of the tailgate. Again, your clip is concealed. You have an access point there as well. So the rack in itself, again, is under just about 100 pounds, fully loaded with everything, the hardware included. Your molly panels, cross member spines, all intact, ready to go for overlanding. So we hope you enjoyed the video. Just stay tuned for the next one. We're probably going to do a gladiator next, so that'll be next. But enjoy, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks.